This abandoned house in Naples, Florida was worth over $500,000. The only person who could sell it had vanished. No one had heard from them in years. No phone number, no address, no one knew where they were. Until one day, we were able to track them down over 9,000 miles to an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Naples, Florida is a coastal paradise for the wealthy. There's not a lot of financial distress. There's not a lot of rundown properties. The average age is 68, and there are a ton of multimillionaires. It's one of the wealthiest places in the United States. It's really hard to find affordable real estate here. Until one day, we were able to locate a property in a neighborhood that had been flagged with a ton of code enforcement violations for several years. So liens were starting to pile up. Property was seriously overgrown. There was a car in the driveway that had been left there that was also flagged by code. Code enforcement had made several notes on the property that they tried to reach out to who they believed to be the owners or the family of the owners, and they had gotten nowhere. There was no response by anybody. This thing was sitting in limbo with the county, just continuing to get flagged. We saw that it was seriously behind on back taxes, and it was actually due for a tax deed auction. So it was only a matter of time until the county just basically got rid of this property. Upon doing deeper due diligence, we realized that it had been owned by an older lady, and she had passed in 2019. Now, this was in 2022 when we first identified the property, so 3 years had passed since she had been deceased. Code had tried to reach out to her family, but again, they couldn't get anywhere. We did some due diligence of our own. We contacted members of her family, so grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and we kept getting the same story. The only person who could likely sell it was her one son that she had. And in this case, in Florida probate law, he would have been the only heir that would be able to sell it. The problem was nobody knew where he was. His own kids didn't know where he was. The last time anybody had spoken to him, he had been released from a jail in Florida for repeat drug issues and writing fraudulent checks. We're at square one. We have no idea where this guy is. His family doesn't even know whether or not he's alive. He could be anywhere in the world. We don't have an address. We don't have a phone number. We don't even have a reference point on where he is. We believe that he wasn't in the state of Florida because there was a warrant out for his arrest that was still active. So we knew that that was probably a place that he wasn't at. But keep in mind, we were on a time crunch here because we had a tax deed auction coming up and we still had to put the property through probate, which is the legal process of transferring title from his deceased mom's name into his name. But again, we're at square one, still tracking him down. We started working with a genealogist, private investigators. We're kind of sitting in limbo for a long time. This went on for several months, trying to figure out, okay, is this guy even alive? Is he out there? Where is he? Until one day, the genealogist we were working with managed to track down a Facebook profile that fit the description of what the family had said about him. We strongly believe that this was him based on those different characteristics and factors, such as he was a veteran. But the only caveat to this was that he lived in Guam, which was 9,000 miles away. We sent a Facebook DM, waited months, still no answer. We left comments on his most recent Facebook pictures that he uploaded saying, hey, nice picture, please check your DMs. Eventually, we got a message back from him, and he seemed interested in what we had to say. We described there was this property that was in Florida. We believed that he was the heir to it. He was a little bit skeptical at first, so we actually got a locksmith. We went into the property. We sent him walkthroughs of everything to gain his trust and show him, hey, there is this actual property here in Florida. It was your mom's. Let's work out a deal. This was what we have coined in our business an intuitive deal, which is a real estate opportunity generated through strategic research, proactive investigation, and instinctual judgment, rather than through traditional marketing or standard lead generation. These deals are investigative in nature. You typically have to get private investigators involved. You typically have to build out a family tree through a genealogist. They're time consuming, but high margin. They're rarely competitive because a lot of other people are not going to go the extra mile to go deep down into the research that it requires. They often involve probate, complex title issues, absentee ownership, and it's driven by instinct, research, and deep market understanding. This was why we believe this to be a high margin opportunity. It was going to take a lot of legwork to track down our heir. but eventually we made it happen. So after we gained his trust, he had mentioned too that there was a classic Corvette in the garage amongst a number of other valuables in the house that he wanted to sell. So he wanted us to ship all of these items back to Guam. And for the most part, we found most of those items, but the Corvette was missing. So that was a big uh-oh moment for us. But luckily, through our private investigators, we were able to figure out that his mom had sold the Corvette years earlier, and that's why it wasn't there. So we were able to provide proof of that, further gaining his trust. The next step was international probate, international notaries, the looming tax auction. But luckily, we get the clear to close from the probate attorney. Probate's done. We're basically working notaries out with our guy in Guam. And literally that day, we hear that Guam gets hit by a typhoon, which ended up being Typhoon Mawar. This typhoon hits Guam, and we're unable to hear from our heir for several weeks. There's no communication coming out. There's no electricity. A lot of running water was disrupted there. We're not sure if our heir is alive. Very limited communication coming out of Guam, but eventually we do get a response from him that he's okay. He just had been out of electricity and telecommunications for a really long time. We finally set up the closing, get notaries set out, and we got it done. Finally wrapped up this chapter that took the better part of a year. Now, keep in mind, there were a lot of issues that we had to resolve, but in the end of the day, because that legwork was so difficult, we were able to secure a $500,000 property in Naples, Florida, for $86,000, which is a home run deal. Some of the biggest opportunities are hiding in plain sight. They might even be in your own neighborhood. Naples, Florida is not known to be an area with motivated or distressed properties, but you do have these situations where there's a very tangled web of family history or heirs that don't even know that they're heirs. And it's a matter of tracking them down and having that conversation. It's not about being the fastest or having the biggest team. It's about thinking differently. Knowing when a lead isn't just a lead, it's a legacy. If you're willing to do what others won't, you're going to unlock value that others can't. At Florida Sell Now, that's what we do. One deal, one story, one family at a time. And trust me, we're just getting started. Like and subscribe for more insane behind the scenes stories from the world of Florida Sell Now.